It assumes it would take 2 to 4 weeks to spread to the UK because of our busy air travel routes. Within 1 to 2 weeks of it arriving here, most major cities would have been seeded with cases. Now, the modelling predicts the virus will go on to affect between 1 and 2/3 of the population. So, how does that fit with COVID-19?
This has been declared wartime in Wuhan, and it looks like it too. Just hours after the first Briton with coronavirus left this hospital, another patient checked in.
Attended by the man now confirmed as the first person to be infected with coronavirus.
So with immediate effect, I've taken the decision to advise British nationals against non-essential travel globally.
We can expect to pass 20,000 deaths by the end of next week.
Breaking news, and the UK death toll from COVID-19 has now topped 50,000.
Mr. Rees-Mogg, has the government got a grip on this?
It was this time last year. What were your plans for the new year before everything happened?
Plans for New Year before everything happened.
I just started my job, so my plan was to work hard to make a bit of money. I was hoping I'd pick up enough money so that way I could go traveling the following year.
I think I was planning on opening up art commissions again, so I was definitely hoping to focus more on artwork and just growing more as a person and picking up some new hobbies, but
I was going to go Pakistan, see my grandparents, but that didn't happen. So, yeah.
Really, it was to do a lot better. I think 2019 was a complete failure for me. I honestly didn't do as much of the kind of work in school that I'd hoped and achieve some of my own personal ambitions. So I began 2020 thinking, this is going to be my year.
Kind of just round off everything. I had a big plan, well, not a big plan. I had a plan to just make things better.
When you first heard about COVID-19, what did you think?
I thought it would blow over pretty quickly.
I was actually quite worried about it. I do remember being in the classroom in February and at the beginning of March, constantly checking the news.
honestly, I thought it was going to be handled a lot like the Ebola crisis, where it was, it was going to stay in China, they would have it sorted.
See, I didn't take it seriously at the start. When I first heard about it, all I really thought was, oh, that's going to be gone soon. I think everyone thought the same thing. Everyone was just like, it's just like a week. And then when we got off school, it was like, oh, it's just 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks became 6 months really quickly, and 6 months became a year, So I guess I just didn't really think about it too much.
I think I thought very similar to what most people did. I thought that it was a bit of a, be a one and done. 1 month maybe it would be pretty bad. Probably just stay in China. I mean, remember a few years ago we had the Ebola crisis, and it was talked up in a very similar way. It was massive, and then it never made it to the other countries. It never actually blew up the same way and shut down the world the same way that COVID ended up doing. While it was still a massive tragedy, it never got treated the same way because it didn't have an effect on the West.
How did you feel when the government announced the national lockdown?
Honestly, at the time that they announced the lockdown, I was pretty burnt out. I was in a really big creative block, so I was really looking forward to being in a place where I felt really creatively active and, you know, just kind of taking that time to focus more on myself.
Honestly, I was quite angry, more so knowing that I'd be stuck at home rather than missing school. I knew I'd miss my friends a lot, and I'm not like the biggest fan of talking through social media and stuff. So it was quite a big loss to me.
I actually didn't mind it, to be honest. I felt like it was just kind of like another break from everything.
Weirdly relieved.
Again, didn't really take it seriously. I think everyone just kind of viewed it as an extra holiday at the beginning. Like, it was just like, oh, that's a thing, that's happening.
What was your favourite part of lockdown?
Probably most people's least favorite part, which was being alone. I really enjoyed the isolation to a certain extent. Gave me time to recharge in a weird way. It also just gave me time to work on personal things, because in this really busy life, in this really busy world, I mean, most people I'm sure can understand that there's not a whole lot of time to do what you want to. There's just things that you have to do and you have to get through them. But it was nice to have time to do my own personal stuff.
I don't know. It kind of gave me, it forced me to be with my family a lot more. So I think that was a good thing. Yeah.
Probably the fact that I actually learned quite a number of new skills that I don't think I would have picked up if something like lockdown hadn't happened. And I think I've come out of it with having achieved a lot more than I think I would have achieved in school, personally and on an academic level.
I have two. I think the main one is probably the creative aspect, especially from a work aspect. We got a lot of shit done. We came up with some amazing concepts, and I think as a group we connected a lot more, like me and my friends. And yeah, we banged out some amazing work over the summer. And along with that, I developed a lot better relationships with people, I think. I became closer with people I never expected to, and I think it really tested me to see who I knew I could trust, and I think it's made me a better person because of that.
My favourite part of lockdown was I got back into a bunch of old hobbies and old interests, and it kept me motivated and it kept me really busy for a while. So it took so I had a lot of things to do, which I was really grateful for.
What was your least favourite part of the lockdown?
I think I got bored a lot. So yeah, just not having things to do, honestly.
Not seeing my friends and not being able to go out to places that I normally go. I'd have a routine where I go to Holland Park every now and then, and I had things like photography projects planned, which I'd go weekly to all these places, and I'd go to pick up some rolls of film and stuff, and just all of this stuff was out the window.
It was missing the people who I would see every day at school. I mean, I'd never tell them to their face, but it was hard to not see all of them every day and be an annoyance to all of them every day.
Because I was stuck inside with my parents, and we're all very different people, cabin fever definitely set in, and there was a lot of kind of clashing, especially because of all of the crazy stuff happening in the world. There was a lot of different opinions going around, and being locked in with people that kind of don't see eye to eye is a little stressful.
All the depression. I didn't think it would affect me as much as it did, and it didn't at the start. And then it kept going on, and you just start to feel helpless, Like, for example, yesterday, what I just found out, we're going back into another lockdown, basically. I know I'm not going to be allowed out. It feels insanely claustrophobic, and it's just never going to end. And it's been going on for so long now, and there have been silver linings, we have a vaccine now. We have so many good things to look for. But even like hearing about a vaccine, you know, like, oh, it works 90%. In the back of everyone's mind, they're thinking, yeah, but what about that 10%? There's still a chance, and it's like everyone's just looking at it from such a negative point of view, I think. And it's just, I feel like that's part that's affected everyone as a whole. Like, people are seeing positives, but ultimately the negatives shine through a lot brighter.
What was your lowest point in the pandemic?
Somebody in my household died, which was difficult to deal with, especially because they helped raise me. And they'd been sick for a while, but so it was all throughout lockdown, and then at the very end, when they died, and it was very kind of punch in the gut stuff.
I think my lowest point was almost admitting defeat to a lot of things. At the beginning of the lockdown, I just thought to myself, oh, fuck this shit, like, it's just not going to get better. I was like pessimistic and cantankerous the whole time. I just didn't think that it would get any better. And I just thought to myself, oh, we're not going to be able to do this. Final major projects cancelled. The schools messed everything up. You know, the government's messed everything up. There was a lot of just like blaming it on myself and everyone else and just not doing anything to help myself. And I did get to quite a low point at the beginning, but that certainly changed towards the end.
I don't know, I got pretty sad after a while missing everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to get out, but I couldn't, so yeah.
There were a lot of times during the pandemic when I did just isolate myself, which probably wasn't the best thing to do. I think it was a lot to do with miscommunication as well. And because you couldn't see people face to face, you couldn't talk properly, and texting is the lowest form of life, I can't be asked. And it's just, the lowest point in the pandemic for me was around April, where I shut myself off completely from everyone around me, and nothing seemed real. I think that's when it properly kind of clicked in my head that this was serious, and that I think it felt like fiction. Like, it felt like I was living in a movie world, and that everything could turn off just easily.
Lowest point in the pandemic. There was a point in the pandemic where the isolation stops being a good thing. And I was definitely starting to alienate people. But it wasn't a thing of being able to recharge and enjoy my own company, because I hated my own company at that point too. It was a point where you kind of wanted to isolate you from yourself.
How has everything that's happened this year changed you?
I'm probably more grateful of being able to go outside now. I say that even though we got the news yesterday that school is over since the last day of school. So yeah, you know, just more grateful.
Definitely more opinionated. Because of, you know, the constant kind of, not even arguments, just debates and, you know, sharing ideas about everything that's happening. It's definitely made me realise my privilege as, you know, somebody living in London, but also, like, you know, how I have to use that for good and how I need to stand by my opinions, even if the situation has nothing to do with me.
I think I've come more into my element. A lot of the free time that I had in lockdown, I spent developing my own skills and becoming like a camera obsessive and just being really into my passions and stuff, which I think that school didn't drive me enough to pursue. And having all of that free time that I could spend productively, but also just key into things like my passions, was just incredible.
Is it weird to say I feel like I've become more confident due to COVID? Like, I feel like I can very easily tell people, like, what I think, how I feel. Like, I feel like I can communicate that a lot better. And that's not just due to COVID, that's due to everything that's gone on this year. COVID has been like a factor of that. I do feel like I've developed so much of a person through this kind of like hard time that I've become a lot more outspoken. I've kind of gotten out of this like shell that I used to kind of stick to. And yeah.
it's made me a lot more conscientious about everything. I mean, this year's been massive. At the start of this year, before COVID-19, before everything, I had lost my grandfather, and it made me very conscientious about life, about doing something valuable. So that was the very start of it, and then that continued and progressed, because soon after I started socializing with more people who I hadn't known too well before, and that made me more conscientious about the people who I want in my life and the type of person I want to be with those people. And as that went on, there was more of that, because I got to know these people more, and it made me more aware of my own aspects. And then there was obviously the massive amounts of things that were happening around race and around class that were happening across the world. So that made me more conscientious about my own heritage, about the people around me as well, and being more aware of these aspects of life. And the big COVID-19 pandemic, that made me just very aware of how I want to progress, what I want out of the next year.
If you could turn back time and change everything, would you?
If I could turn back time and change everything,
I think, yeah, probably to the beginning of lockdown, so that I could kind of figure out exactly what I was going to do, because there were a couple of weeks where I was just lying around, not doing anything.
I'd probably pick up a skill so I could practice at home.
Not even slightly.
And I think that's because what I got out of 2020, given that the lockdown happened, is something I wouldn't have got if the lockdown didn't happen. And that's just things like learning a bunch of skills. Like I wouldn't be into developing film and like using my film camera as much and various other things and working on projects with all of my friends, because we'd be doing this stuff at school, we wouldn't be working in the summer holidays, if you'd call it that.
I don't know. Maybe. Let's say maybe. Although I feel like I wouldn't be such a different person if I did.
Behind the scenes time, check it out. It's Aisha in the house, our director. All of this stuff was out of the window, couldn't even go to Mackey's. There's Sammy.
Hi, Kitty.
You right?
Couldn't get a cornetto.
Where's Daniel? There he is behind the light.
It's just an absolute disaster.
And our favourite demon, Lola.
I'm so sorry.
Where's Ab? There he is. Yeah, my demon?
What's up?
Okay, next one, you can cry on demand and it will help you be sad.
So, what did you think of this documentary shoot thing that you did?
Honestly, it's been like an emotional roller coaster.
I just miss my bros, like, let's just get real now.
Because we are supposed to do it tomorrow and then school shut.
I'd turn back time if it meant I'd save loads of people, but
What? You said unplug it.
You have to turn it off.
Then
go to the socket in the wall, turn it off.
you're gonna have to cut that bit. I don't know why I said that.
Sammy, I'm struggling.
Okay.
No. Kitty, up on the camera.
She's wrong.
Say I have.
I guess that was
I'm evil.
Okay, cut.